Hi, let's move on to next topic, that is list slicing. So list slicing is, as the name suggests, we're going to take a part of our list and just going to print it or going to use it. Okay, so let me take a simple list here, that is 10. Let's start with 11. Sorry, let me take 100, 1 or 2, and 300. Okay, so this is my list. Now if you going to print it, it will print all the values, correct? So this is our list work, right? We already know that list comes with indexes. Okay, so this is our 0th index, this will be 1, this will be 1, this will be my 2, 3, 4, and 5, then 6, this will be 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so these are my indexes. If you let me work on positive indexes first. So these are my indexes, right? Now, if you want a specific part of a list, okay, so specific part of a list, for example, if we're working on these values or we want these particular values, we're going to use indexes to slice them out. Okay, how we are going to do it? So consider this as you're going to use like this. You will give a starting point and you will give an ending point. Okay, so this is two values you're going to pass on. Okay, so Conan would separate starting point and ending point. Okay, so if I'm going to use print, and let's start with second index and at 7th index. What this means we are going to start at 33. Okay, we are going to start at 33 and it will end at 100, but it will not consider last value, last element. What this means, it will not consider the ending index. It will go from starting index to less than the last index. That means it will start with 33 and end at 6th index, that is 29. Okay, so it will not include the last index, that is the ending point. Okay, so if you look closely, you will get starting from 33, that is the second index, and it will end at 7, that is 100, but it will work only less than the last value. Okay, so less than 7 will be 6 and it will work, it will slice it out. Okay, so this is a common rule here, that whatever the ending point is, it will work less than 1. Okay, less than 1 element. Okay, so let me use this list again, and if I use 5th to 10th. Okay, so 5th index is 76. This is my 5th index. 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I mentioned 10, but there is no 10th index here. Obviously this will work less than 1, so internally it is working from 5 to 9. So 9th index is 30 and it will print, sorry, 9th index is 300 and it will print 300. Okay, so it will start from 75 and end at 300. Okay, generally list will not give you any error. List generally, very some cases are there where lists return an error. Okay, so if I consider 15 here, so now there is no 15th index, there is no 11th, 10th, 12th, 13th, there is no index like that. Okay, our list is ended on 9th index. So will this work? Yes, this will work. This will start with the 6th index. 6th index is of 29. It will start from 29. It will go towards the end. Okay, even though there are no indexes. So it will consider these values. Okay, from 29 to last value. Okay, so there's no last index, so it will cover all the values. Okay, this will not give you an error. Okay, so the flow of lists are left to right. The default flow of working on slicing or comprehensions are left to right. You will start with some number. It will go from left to right. You can end it here or anywhere. Okay. Let me write some more things. If I do not mention any of the column, any of the starting point or ending point, what will be the output? This will give you the whole list as it is. Okay. If I use this particular part, if I print list again, it will give you the same list, even though you are taking out the slice. Okay. So what happened here is when you take out the slice, it will create a new slice or new list. So if I'm using like this, if I'm from 4 to 8, okay, so this will give you a new list if you print the value of A and if you print the value of, okay, so if you run this, A will be like this and L will be as it is. L is same as it is. It will print the same values. Okay, why this is happening? Because in list, when you take out the slice, it will generate a new list. It will not change the previous one. Okay, so this is a rule number. This is one of the rules. Okay, so now this is how my list works. Now let's move forward. There are some more rules to it. We already know that if we are starting with a list and we already have positive indexes, so let me add some more questions. So if I add 1 colon 4, what will be the output? So let me use the previous list as it is so that we have the indexes as well. Okay, so this is my list. Okay, if I'm starting from 1 and going towards 4, it will work less than 1. It will return 22, 33 and 44. If you run this, this will be your output. If you write list, you are starting from 0 and ending at 2. What will the output? You will start at 11 and at 2. It will work less than 1. So the output will be 11 and 22. The output of slicing will always be a slice or will be a list. Okay. So if I run this, I'm starting from 0 and ending at 1. What this means? This means that you are starting from 0 and it will work less than 1. That means it will include only 0th index. That means the output will be 11. List of 11. Okay. The output will be list of 11. Okay. So this is how it works. If I write start from 0 and end at 0, what this means? Will this give some output? We are starting from 0. We are going towards 0, but it will work less than 1 of the last index. So your index will come at -1, something like this. So it will not work. So if you run this, it will give you an empty list. So this is an empty list. Okay. Empty list is a list. The type of this particular list or variable will be a list. Okay. So empty lists are like this. If you print the type of A, the type is list. Okay. You can perform all the operations you can perform on a list. You can perform on an empty list as well. Okay. The type of this object is list. Okay. Now, whenever you work or extract values like this, it will give you an empty list. Okay. Generally, you will not get any error in list in slicing generally, but there are some cases where you can find some errors in the list comprehensions. Okay. So this is how we work. Let's move forward. Use the same list and apply some more operations. We already know positive indexes. Okay. Let me use one more example. If I write 4 comma 1, will this work? Think about it. Will this work based on the previous question? So now we are starting from 1 and ending at 4. It will print 22, 33 and 44. We already know this. It will print the same thing as previous one. But when we start with 4, yes, this is my starting point and I want to go backwards. Okay, so ending point is this, correct? So this will not work. This will give you an error. Why? Oh, sorry, this will not give you an error. It will just start from here and it will give you an empty list. Why? Because your by default list comprehensions work from left to right. What you are telling here is start with 4 and go backwards. It will not work like that. So it will consider nothing. Okay, so it will return empty list. Okay, so first one is this, second one is this. Okay, keep this in mind. If you want to work, if you want your slicing work backwards, it will not work. Okay, so there is some condition you have to follow so that your slicing should work left to right, correct? Okay, so let's take some more examples. I'm using the same thing. Okay, let me take some values, some more values. So there's a condition. We call this steps. What we call? Give 2 columns here. We already know that the first column is what? Starting point. The second is ending point. And the third one is steps. Okay. So these are steps. Steps are just like how many times you want to jump, how you are going to proceed further. That means if you are passing nothing, it will jump one by one. If you give some number here, it will jump accordingly. That means let's start. I'm not entering any value in starting and ending point. That means it will consider all the elements from a list. Okay. Now, if I enter 2 here, what will be the output? It will start from 11. Okay, the starting point, because starting and ending point is not there. That means it will consider the whole list. Okay, so my starting point is 11. My ending point is not given. That means it will cover all the values. My steps are 2. That means it will start with 11. It will jump to 33. Then it will jump to 55. Then it will jump to 29. Then it will jump to 102. Okay, so this will be my output. Okay, 11, then 33, 55, 29, 102. Okay, why this is happening? Because you have given these steps. Okay, by default, these steps are, what are these steps? By default, the steps are 1, obviously. Okay, so if you run this and the steps are 1, it is your output. This is your output. Okay, so if you use this one again, so if I pass nothing, it will consider all the elements. So output will be same in both the cases, because by default the value of steps are 1. If you pass 1, it will consider 1. If you pass 2, it will jump over the elements. Okay, if you pass 3, so this is my starting point. 1, 2, 3, 44, 1, 2, 3, 29, 1, 2, 3, 300. Okay, so if you pass 3 here, so 11, 44, 29, 300. Correct? So this is how it works. So these are my slicing concepts and these are my steps concepts. Okay. Now, let's move forward with negative indexes as well. And then we will move forward with, we'll consider this as, let me remove this one. Okay. So now we already know what are negative indexes. So these are my negative indexes. -1. This is my -1. This is -2. This is -3. -4. Okay. minus 5, this is minus 6, minus 7, this is minus 8, this is minus 9, and this is minus 10. Okay, so this is how the whole thing works. Okay, so these are my negative indexes, these are my positive indexes. If you work on these negative indexes, let's start with minus 4 here and at minus 1. What will be the output? The starting point is 29. I'm ending at 300, so it will work less than 1. So output will be 2900, 102. Okay, by default, we already know by default the flow is left to right. Okay, so if you are considering any of the values, any of the starting point and ending point, it will work left to right by default. Okay, if you want it to work right to left, you have to change a little. You have to give the steps in negative way. Okay, that means if I write, sorry, print, so this is my list 1, this is my minus 1 to minus 4. Okay, will this work? Think about it. The starting point is minus 1. By default, my slicing work left to right. Okay, but what I'm telling it to do, work right to left. It will not work. It will give you an empty list. Okay, this is how negative indexes work. These are same, but we have to consider these indexes properly. Okay, so it will work same as the positive indexes. Okay, so if I want to work this particular part, if I want to start from minus 1 and end at minus 4, what can I have to change? So minus 4, if I enter 1, it will work properly and go towards using 1 steps. Okay, but if the steps are negative, how it will work? Think about it. If the steps are negative, it will start from 300. By default, it goes from right to left. Sorry, left to right. It will go now right to left. The starting point is 300. It will go towards minus 4. But the concept is same. It will not consider the last element you have given. It will work less than 1. So 300, 102, and 100. So if you run this, this is your output. Okay. Let me take some more examples. So we are starting from this. Let me give minus 1. So what will be the output? We are starting from minus 4 and going towards minus 1, but we are giving the negative steps. That means it will work right to left. That means towards here, but there is no ending point here, so it will give you empty list. Okay, so you have to consider these concepts before working. Okay, so by default it will work, but if you give negative indexes, it will not work. If you run this, this will work, because by default it will go from left to right. Okay, so this is how it works. So let me give positive indexes and give negative values, negative steps. So this is the final, this is my value. So it will give you reverse of the list. Okay, so this is my starting point, this is my ending point. That means all the values, all the elements from the list will be considered, but these steps are minus 1, so output will be right to left. Okay, by default it will work left to right. Okay, so if I give this particular part, that means if I give 1 here, okay, so it will consider left to right. But if the steps are negative, minus 1, it will give you a reverse list. Okay, so this is also a common question in interviews. So what will be the reverse of this particular string or this particular list? Okay, so you cannot answer like this. If you answer this one, the next question will be build a logic for it. Okay, what will be the logic reversalist? So you have to use while loop there. Okay, so we will work on them later on. Okay, but this is how list comprehensions work. So I pretty much covered almost every concept. So let me use some more of them. So if I enter 0 here, okay, so steps cannot be 0. Why? Because if you work on, if you give 0 steps, this doesn't make any sense. Okay, it should be 1 step or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever. So if you run this, it will give you an error. Slice step cannot be 0. Okay, so these steps cannot be 0. Okay, so this is my these are my values. So there's one case where you find error in slicing. So this is one of the case. If I start from, if I ask you the 15th index, this will give you an error, but this is not slicing. This is a general indexing in a list. So this will give you an error. But if I'm starting from 15 and ending at 20, so there's no such thing, such indexes in my list. So will it give you an error? No, it will give you empty list. Okay, so there is no index here, so it will consider nothing and it will return empty list. Okay, so this is how lists work, list slicing or comprehensions work. So you can perform different operation by passing different values here. So I covered almost everything. So if you find any doubt, you can ask in comment section. Okay, that's it. So these are comprehensions. So we generally use them in when you are slicing out or taking sub part of a list. You are working on neural networks, you are working on convolutional neural networks. So you have to take a small two-dimensional matrix and work on the big matrix or make cross multiplications with them. So we generally take a small part of it. So this is one of the example. So if I want to work on the specific part, so I can use this. Okay, so this is how a list comprehension work. And that's it. Let's move forward. And the next topic will be list methods. Okay, that's it. Sorry.